Hey viewers, welcome to African Tales by Affy. Please kindly click the subscribe button to get notified for more amazing stories. Grace Parker was a cleaner at the fancy Emerald Heights office towers. Every morning, she woke up before the sun, tied her curly brown hair into a bun, and walked down the street in her worn-out sneakers. She didn't have much, but she always carried a hopeful heart and a dream bigger than the tallest building she cleaned. "Uncle Joe," she said one morning as she pulled on her gloves, "do you ever think things can really change for people like us?" Her uncle smiled over his toast. "Only if we keep showing up, Grace. Keep doing what's right, even when no one's looking." She nodded. "I guess I just wish someone would look, sometimes." That day felt like any other, mopping shiny floors, emptying bins, humming to herself, but everything changed just before lunchtime. As she pushed her cleaning cart outside the building to dump some trash, she heard the loud screech of tires and a shout. "Watch out!" Across the street, a black car was speeding toward a man standing at the curb. He was looking down at his phone and hadn't noticed the car coming straight for him. Without thinking, Grace dropped her trash bag, dashed across the street, and shoved the man out of the way just in time. Crash! The car swerved, hit a lamp post, and came to a halt. The man she saved tumbled onto the grass, his fancy suit now stained with dirt and shock. "Are you okay?" Grace panted, kneeling beside him. He looked at her, eyes wide. You saved my life." "Yeah, well," she said, brushing her knees. "You should look up from your phone sometimes." People rushed over, and soon sirens wailed in the distance. The man sat up, blinking as if seeing Grace for the first time. "Do you know who I am?" he asked. Grace shrugged. "Some guy who almost got turned into street pizza?" He laughed. "I'm Ethan Carter." She blinked. That name sounded familiar. "You mean the Ethan Carter? The billionaire tech guy with, like, 5 companies?" He smiled and nodded. "That's me." Just then, her manager, Mrs. Taylor, stomped over with a face like thunderclouds. "Grace Parker. What on earth do you think you're doing out here?" she barked. There was an accident, and I was just." "You left your post, during work hours? And look at your uniform. Filthy." Ethan stood up. "Excuse me, Mrs. Taylor. I manage the cleaning staff. And Grace here just made a scene." "With all due respect, Mrs. Taylor," Ethan said firmly, "Grace saved my life. She's a hero." But Mrs. Taylor didn't budge. Hero or not, she broke company rules. "I'm sorry, Mr. Carter, but I run a tight ship. Grace, turn in your badge. You're done here." Grace's heart dropped to her shoes. "You're firing me?" Mrs. Taylor crossed her arms. "Rules are rules." Grace opened her mouth to speak, but no words came. She glanced at Ethan, who looked stunned. The crowd began to drift away, and so did Grace's hope. She walked home slowly that day, hands shoved deep in her coat pockets. The wind felt colder than usual. "I was just trying to help," she whispered to herself. That evening, as she sat on the porch steps, Uncle Joe brought her a cup of cocoa. "I heard what happened," he said gently. "You did the right thing. But I lost my job." "You may have lost a job," Uncle Joe said, "but you didn't lose your kindness. That counts for more than you know." Just then, a sleek black car pulled up in front of their small house. "Who in the world?" Uncle Joe said. The window rolled down, and out stepped Ethan Carter, still in his dusty suit. "Grace," he called, "I've been looking for you all afternoon." She stood up slowly. "Why?" "Because," he said, walking toward her, "you saved my life. And I don't let heroes go unnoticed." Grace blinked in surprise. Ethan smiled warmly. "Would you consider coming to work for me? I need someone with your kind of heart. And trust me, this won't be a cleaning job." Grace's mouth dropped open. "Are you serious?" "As serious as almost being run over," he grinned. "What do you say?" Uncle Joe laughed and gave Grace a nudge. "Sounds like a better offer than scrubbing bathrooms." Grace grinned for the first time that day. "Okay, Mr. Carter. Let's see where this road takes me." Grace stood in front of the tall glass doors of Carter Innovations, her heart thumping like a drum. Just yesterday, she was scrubbing floors. Today, she was walking into a skyscraper, invited by the man whose life she saved. She glanced down at her old shoes. They were clean but worn, definitely not the kind of shoes most people wore here. The doors whooshed open, and a friendly receptionist smiled. "You must be Miss Grace Parker. Mr. Carter is expecting you." Grace blinked. "He is?" "Top floor," the receptionist said, pointing to the elevator. "You can't miss it." As the elevator climbed higher and higher, Grace wiped her sweaty palms on her skirt. Her reflection in the elevator wall looked nervous, but curious, too. When the doors opened, Ethan was standing at the far end of a sleek office lined with windows that showed the whole city below. "There you are," he said, smiling. "I was starting to think you'd changed your mind." "I almost did," Grace admitted. "I've never been this high up in a building before." "Well, let's get you used to it," Ethan chuckled. "Come, have a seat." She sat carefully on a big leather chair that felt more like a sofa. The room smelled like lemon and paper and fresh coffee. "So, what exactly do you want me to do here?" Grace asked. Ethan leaned forward. "I want you to be part of my team, not just cleaning or answering phones. I want to give you a chance to create." Grace tilted her head. "Create? What do you mean?" "I've read up on you," he said. "I saw your sketches on your blog. The designs you've done for clothes and posters. Grace, you're an artist." Her eyes widened. "You saw those?" "But those were just for fun." "Fun or not," Ethan said, "they're better than anything my current creative team has done in months. I want you to join the design department. You'll start as an assistant, but I have a feeling you won't stay an assistant for long." Grace looked down at her hands. "I don't know if I'm ready for this." Ethan smiled. "I think you are. But I'm not asking you to be perfect. I'm asking you to be brave." Just then, a woman with a bright red dress and a clipboard walked in. "Mr. Carter, the team's waiting in the conference room." Ethan nodded. "Perfect. Grace, want to meet them?" She stood slowly, her legs feeling like jelly. "Okay. I guess. I'm doing this." As they walked into the big conference room, everyone turned to look. "This," Ethan announced, "is Grace Parker. She's joining the design team starting today." A few people clapped politely. One woman in the back gave a small smile. Another man leaned over to whisper something, and a few others giggled. Grace caught it all, but stood tall. After the meeting, the woman who had smiled earlier walked over. "Hi. I'm Ellie. Welcome." "Don't mind them, they're just surprised the new girl didn't come in wearing a designer suit." Grace laughed. "Yeah, well, my suit's still in the laundry, or something like that." Ellie grinned. "Come on, I'll show you where we sit. You'll like it here, eventually." By the end of the day, Grace had her own desk, a company ID, and a long list of things to learn. She didn't understand half of it, but Ellie was patient, and Grace was a fast learner. Later that evening, Ethan passed by her desk. "Still here?" he asked. "Just trying to get the hang of it." He smiled. "Grace, you don't have to be perfect on day one." "I know," she said. "But I want to be ready. I don't want to mess up the chance you gave me." He looked at her kindly. "You earned this, Grace. You didn't get here because of luck. You got here because you were brave and you cared." Her cheeks warmed. "Thanks, Ethan." They stared at each other a second longer than usual. Then Ethan cleared his throat. "Well, get some rest. Tomorrow, you'll meet the head of branding. Big project coming up." As Grace rode the elevator down, she thought about everything that had changed. She thought about the way Ethan had looked at her just now. And she thought about Uncle Joe, who would be waiting on the porch, cocoa in hand. When she got home, sure enough, there he was. "So, Miss Office Lady," Uncle Joe said, handing her a mug. "How'd it go?" She sat beside him, sighing happily. "It was big. Scary. Weird. Wonderful. I don't even have the words." "You will," Uncle Joe said. "One day, this'll be your normal." She sipped the cocoa, smiled, and looked up at the stars. I think my life's just beginning." A few weeks had passed since Grace started her new job at Carter Innovations, and every morning still felt like a dream. Gone were her old sneakers. Now she wore simple but stylish flats, a gift from Ellie. Her desk was covered in sticky notes, colored pencils, and sketches for upcoming projects. She had her own badge, a work email, and people who actually said good morning when they passed her in the hall. But not everything was easy. One Monday morning, Ellie came rushing to Grace's desk with wide eyes and a tabloid newspaper in her hand. "You're not going to believe this," Ellie whispered, shoving the paper in front of her. There on the front page was a photo of Grace and Ethan, laughing together near the company cafe. The headline read, "Billionaire and the Cleaning Girl? Romance or Recruitment?" Grace's heart dropped. "What is this?" she gasped. "It's all over the company," Ellie said. "People are talking. Some are jealous. Others think you're dating the boss." Grace's face turned red. "But I'm not." "We're not, he just gave me a job. That's all." Ellie nodded. "I know that. You know that. But office gossip spreads faster than a sneeze." Grace sat back in her chair, stunned. "Now people will think I didn't earn this job, that I'm only here because I saved his life." Just then, Ethan walked in with his usual coffee. He saw the paper in Grace's hand and stopped mid-step. "Oh no," he muttered. "I was hoping you hadn't seen that yet." Grace stood up. "Ethan, this is everywhere." "I know. And I'm so sorry, Grace. The media got wind of what happened that day. They love a dramatic story, and they twisted it. She looked at him with worried eyes. This could ruin everything. He stepped closer. Grace, listen to me. I gave you this job because you're talented. You earned it. And I'll make sure people know that. She folded her arms. But what if they don't care? What if they've already made up their minds? There was a long pause. Ethan glanced around, then leaned in quietly. Then we show them what you're made of. There's a huge pitch coming up for the Lunatic rebrand. I was going to give it to someone else, but I want you to lead the creative. Her eyes widened. Me? Let it? You've got ideas no one else has. You think differently. And honestly, I believe in you. Grace hesitated. She'd only been there a few weeks. People already questioned her. If she failed, they'd say she didn't belong. But then she remembered Uncle Joe's words, "You didn't lose your kindness." That counts for more than you know. She straightened up. Okay. I'll do it. Ethan smiled. That's what I hoped you'd say. Over the next few days, Grace poured her heart into the Lunatic project. She stayed late, sketched endlessly, and worked closely with Ellie, who cheered her on the whole way. The presentation day finally came. The big conference room buzzed with nerves. Executives, designers, even board members filled the room. When it was Grace's turn, she took a deep breath and walked to the front. She clicked the remote, and her designs filled the screen, bright, bold, modern. Modern, and full of life. She cleared her throat. This is Lunatic's new face. It's about light. About hope. About the future. As she spoke, something changed. The whispers and doubts she'd feared were gone. People leaned forward, taking notes. Some even nodded in approval. When she finished, the room was quiet. Then, clap, clap, clap. Ethan stood up, smiling. Soon, the whole room was applauding. After the meeting, the Lunatic CEO walked over and shook Grace's hand. Incredible work. Fresh and powerful. I can see why Ethan trusts you. Grace beamed. Thank you, sir. Later that afternoon, Grace and Ethan stood by the cafe window, looking out over the city. You were amazing, Ethan said quietly. Grace grinned. I was scared. But I wanted to prove that I deserved to be here. He looked at her for a long moment. Grace, can I tell you something? Of course. I didn't just bring you here because you saved me. Or even because of your talent. I did it because you reminded me of something I lost. She raised an eyebrow. What's that? Heart. Kindness. You don't climb this high in the business world without losing a few good things along the way. But you brought them back. Grace blushed. I guess we both saved each other then. Their eyes locked. For a moment, the noisy world of business and headlines disappeared. Ethan stepped a little closer. What if we took that coffee we keep pretending not to have time for? Grace smiled. I'd like that. That night, back on the porch, Uncle Joe listened with pride as Grace told him everything. So, let me get this straight, he said with a grin. You're winning pitches, turning heads, and possibly falling for a billionaire? Grace giggled. I don't know about all that. But I do know I'm finally where I belong. Uncle Joe raised his cocoa to dreams that clean up nicely. 3 months after Grace started working at Carter Innovations, her life had changed more than she ever imagined. She had gone from scrubbing bathroom tiles to leading creative meetings. From wearing old shoes to designing futuristic sneakers for a campaign. And from worrying about being fired to being praised in business magazines. But her biggest surprise came on a Monday morning when Ethan called her into his office. He smiled, but there was something serious in his eyes. "Grace," he said, folding his hands, "there's something I want to talk to you about." Her heart skipped. "Is everything okay?" "More than okay," he said. "In fact, I've been thinking about this for weeks. The company's creative director is retiring. She's moving to Europe. And I need someone new. Someone bold. Someone fresh." Grace's eyes widened. "Are you saying?" He nodded. "I want you to take the job." Grace nearly dropped the folder in her hand. "Me? Director? Ethan, that's huge." "I know," he said. "And I know it's fast. But you've proven you have what it takes, not just with talent, but with heart. You see people. You listen. You create things that mean something." She sat down slowly. "But I've only been here 3 months. What if people think I'm not ready?" He leaned forward. "Grace, people will always have opinions. But I've seen you work. You're ready. I believe in you." Grace stared out the window, watching the clouds drift by. Then she thought about all she'd been through, saving a stranger, getting fired, starting over, proving herself, and growing stronger. She turned back to him and smiled. "Okay," she said. "Let's do it." That afternoon, Ethan made the announcement at a company meeting. "I'd like you all to meet your new creative director," he said, motioning to Grace. "A few months ago, she was a stranger who saved my life. Today, she's a leader who's about to take this company to new heights." The room erupted in applause, louder than before. Even the doubters from the early days were now smiling, nodding, clapping. Grace took the microphone with trembling hands. "Thank you," she said. "When I first walked into this building, I didn't know where I belonged. I thought I'd always be in the background. But someone gave me a chance. And now I want to give chances, too. Not just to make pretty pictures, but to make a difference. Because every story matters, especially the ones that start from the bottom." More applause. A few people wiped their eyes. After the meeting, Ellie ran over and gave her a huge hug. "You did it!" Ellie squealed. "You're the boss now." "Not the boss," Grace laughed. "Just someone with a bigger whiteboard." But just as things were settling into a joyful rhythm, a challenge arrived. An angry email from a rival company was spreading rumors that Grace had been unfairly promoted, that her relationship with Ethan was the real reason for her rise. Grace sat in her office that night, reading the email over and over. "What if they're right?" she whispered. Ethan knocked gently and walked in. "I saw the email." "You okay?" She sighed. "They're saying I only got this job because of you. That I didn't earn it." Ethan sat across from her. "Grace, I could list 100 reasons why they're wrong. But here's what matters, what do you believe?" She looked at him, really looked. Then she said, I believe I've worked hard. I've stayed late. I've brought ideas no one else had. I've lifted people up. Ethan smiled. Then that's all you need. And I'll stand by you no matter what. She reached across the table and took his hand. I know you will. The next day, Grace addressed the rumor in a powerful company-wide message. I earned this role through effort, creativity, and dedication, not shortcuts. Let my work speak for me. And let kindness lead the way. The company rallied behind her. Ethan stood proudly at her side. And the noise from the outside world? It faded into nothing. 6 months later, Grace launched a youth design mentorship program. She gave young people from all backgrounds the chance to learn, grow, and create, just like someone had done for her. She never forgot where she came from. And she never stopped believing in second chances. One evening, as the sun dipped below the city skyline, Ethan and Grace walked together along the balcony of their office. You know, he said, the day you saved me. I thought I was the lucky one. Grace looked at him with soft eyes. You were. He grinned. But now I think we both were. We saved each other in different ways. She nodded. You gave me a future. I gave you a reminder that even in a world of power and pressure, kindness still matters. They stood in silence, the wind gently brushing past them. Then Ethan reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Grace's breath caught. He opened it to reveal a delicate silver ring with a tiny heart-shaped gem. Grace Parker, he said, voice a little shaky, will you keep changing my life forever? Tears filled her eyes as she whispered, yes. Grace became one of the youngest and most respected creative directors in the city. She married Ethan in a simple, joyful ceremony surrounded by flowers, friends, and Uncle Joe, who gave the best toast anyone had ever heard. She never forgot her first job. Or the day her life turned upside down. And every time she passed a cleaner in the hallway, she smiled, offered a kind word, and remembered. All great stories start somewhere small. Hello tribe, hope we enjoyed today's story. Please kindly put what you've learned in the comments section. Please remember to hit the like button, share this to your friends and family as well as subscribe to see you on the next one. Bye.